everybody, welcome to today's video. This is episode 3 of our digital nomad diary. Right now we are in Canyon Lake, Texas, which is right between San Antonio and Austin. So it's a really good middle ground for us to go to both of those cities. But the past month we've done a lot. It's been a little while since we've made a video, and we basically went through the entire South. It was really fun. We had a great time, but we have a lot to cover in this video.
Yeah, so from the last video, we were located in DC. Then we started heading south, and I always wanted to check out Raleigh, Durham area, because I have some friends that moved out in that area, and I just wanted to check, we wanted to check out, how the city is. We've always heard how there's a lot of tech in there that moved in there, so we wanted to really kind of check out that city, and yeah, we really liked it. We had a really nice Airbnb in there. Then we went over to Asheville, which was both of our one of the highlights that we wanted to hit down in the South. So we'll be talking a little bit more about Asheville, and then we headed over to Chattanooga, which we both agreed is the one that really stood out.
We loved Chattanooga. Yeah. It was so much fun. We didn't spend that much time there, but the time that we did spend, we absolutely loved it.
Yeah. And then after that, we went down to Atlanta, where we did a house sit for a little pup named Rue. We were there for a little over a week, and we explored Atlanta, and we were on the outskirts, more in the suburbs area, so we checked out some of the more local neighborhoods rather than just the touristy spots. So we're going to be covering all these different cities and kind of what we liked and maybe didn't like about each city, and then go from there.
So the Raleigh Durham area, I feel like we didn't spend as much time as I would have liked, but we had a really good time. We mainly went there to visit some friends that we hadn't seen in a while. They had moved from Florida to that area, so we met up with them, and that was really nice. We also checked out the downtown area, went to a couple different bars. There's a really big beer garden in Raleigh that has like 350 beers on tap, so that was pretty cool to see. People were really nice there. We got some pretty good food, some barbecue. That was one of the things that I wanted to try. We're kind of going on a barbecue tour, if you will, of the different states have their different specialties in barbecue. So like right now we're in Texas, so it's a little different than like North Carolina barbecue. So we checked that out in North Carolina, and that was fun. We had a really good time in that area, but I would have liked to maybe have spent a few more days there, because I felt like with working and running the business, it was kind of hard to get out some days, and there were a couple days where the weather wasn't that great, so that kind of put a damper on some of the stuff that we could do. So hopefully we'll be able to go back to that area and explore a little bit more, because I think there's a lot of things that we probably have missed.
So the next stop was Asheville. This was a city that we both always heard a lot about, and we never really had the opportunity to go, so we wanted to make sure that we spent some time there, and that was one of the longest days. We were there for almost 2 weeks, and so we actually stayed in a town called Hendersonville, which is about 30-45 minutes away from like downtown Asheville. The reason is because some of these cities, we've noticed, they charge a lot if you want to stay within the city limits, for Airbnb. So we're actually really happy that we decided to move to stay in Hendersonville, because in that area there was a lot of wineries, there was a cool town there, and we were on the top of this really cool mountain, so we had awesome views. So I highly recommend checking out Hendersonville if you're in the Asheville area. Check out that town. So of course one of the first major things that we had to do, and Barb told me about it, I had no idea about it, was the Biltmore Estate. If you're not familiar, it's a massive compound of basically just really rich family, where they just had hundreds and hundreds of employees working for them. They have wineries there. There's a big national park. It's a whole day event at least. And I know we like to talk about budget traveling. This was not cheap at all. This was, I think, like $75 a person, somewhere around there, just for the day. And if you're lucky enough to live in Asheville, you can get an annual pass, and you can have access to the whole compound year round. So that is a really cool attraction, like nothing else I've ever seen in this country. So we did that, and of course we wanted to explore the downtown area. And honestly, it wasn't really quite the scene that I thought it was going to be. We still had a really good time. There was a lot of cool, roof deck bars that we went to, some cool restaurants. It's mainly the shops is kind of what they didn't really do anything for me. I'm not really into, tarot cards and that type of stuff. So I didn't really have a lot of interest in the shops downtown. But they have really good hiking and everything. So like I said, if you're out in the Hendersonville area, that's where a lot more of the mountains are. So there's DuPont Park, which is where they recorded a lot of Hunger Games scenes from the movie out in that area. So you can actually see the waterfalls from the movie. There's a lot of hiking out in that area. So that was a really cool thing to kind of break up just walking around downtown, Asheville. So that goes without saying that there's a lot of wineries and breweries out in that area. So you can check that type of stuff out if you're into that. And of course, we're doing food across the country. So we found a really good hot barbecue chicken place. So they have a lot of hot chicken. They have a lot of hot chicken at this place, kind of like Nashville style. Very good, highly recommend it. Other than that, we enjoyed our time in Asheville, and I feel like we spent plenty of time there. And like I said, we highly recommend exploring outside of Asheville because there's a lot more to see. And the last thing I want to mention is the River Arts District. This seems to be a new up-and-coming area where there's a lot of, local artists that want to set up shop and showcase their work. So there's an area down there called the River Arts District where you can walk around. There's some cool restaurants, cafes, and stuff. When we went, I definitely noticed that in a couple years, it seems like it's going to be a lot bigger than what it is. There's a lot of construction going on. So this might be an area that is just going to explode in the future. Who knows? But we enjoyed seeing that, and that was a cool little part of the town.
So from Asheville, we went to Chattanooga, and we only spent like 3 days in Chattanooga because it was kind of an in-between spot between Asheville and our house sit that we were doing in Atlanta. I went to Chattanooga maybe 10 years ago for a day, and I really liked it, and I always wanted to go back and see more of it. And I knew Mark would really like it too, so I said, why don't we just stop over in Chattanooga for a few days in between Asheville and our house sit. And I'm so glad that we did because we really, really loved it there. We went to Ruby Falls and the Rock City Gardens, which is a really cool area. It's kind of like a tourist trap, but if you've never been to Chattanooga, it's something that you definitely should go to and see. The views are amazing. The Ruby Falls was awesome. We had a great tour guide. He really made it fun for us, and we got to walk through the caves and see how beautiful Ruby Falls was. It was a really cool day, and we got some great food in Chattanooga. We weren't really expecting the food to be so good, but there's some really awesome restaurants in that area, especially in the downtown district. We went to a place that was on the show Beat Bobby Flay, and I guess the chef actually did beat him. So the food there was really good. We got to go to a couple different bars and just kind of explore the downtown area, and we had so much fun. I definitely recommend going to Chattanooga. I know like Nashville's a really popular place, or Memphis, but don't skip out on Chattanooga. If you have the opportunity to go, I definitely recommend it because there's so much to do there, and I think you'll really have a really great time. It's not as crowded as some of those bigger cities, but there's still so much to do. And then another thing that we did in Chattanooga was go to Signal Point. This is a little bit outside of the city, but maybe like a 10-15 minute drive at the most. And that was really cool. The views there were amazing. And then we did a pretty intense hike to Julia Falls Overlook. We weren't really sure what to expect. We just said, hey, let's go on this hike and see this waterfall. And it was pretty intense, but we made it. It was about a mile, but you climb over all these rocks, and you have to really be careful where you step because it's kind of rough terrain. But we got there, and it was so worth it. The view was stunning, and we just loved it. So if you go to Chattanooga and that's something that you want to do, just be careful if you're not an experienced hiker, or if you have maybe small children, you might not want to go down that path. But if you can do it because you'll really love it. Another thing that surprised us about Chattanooga was how they embrace the arts. There was a really cool sculptural park in Chattanooga that had like 40, 50 sculptures in it. It's free and open to the public, so you can walk around there. If you wanted to have a picnic, you could do that. That was really interesting to see. It kind of reminded us of a place in New Jersey called Grounds for Sculpture. It kind of had a similar vibe to that. So that was really interesting to see and kind of surprising for the area. We weren't expecting so much art in Chattanooga, but they really do embrace it. So we just really loved our time in that city, and honestly, we're really looking forward to going back. That's probably the place that we've liked the most on our trip so far.
After Chattanooga, we went over to Atlanta. We actually stayed in a place called Smyrna, which is pretty close to the Braves Stadium. This is where we did the house sit for this little pup named Root. He was a really cool pup. The neighborhood was great. It was, in this kind of in the suburbs, about 30 minutes outside of downtown of Atlanta. So we were able to go into downtown Atlanta some days, and then other days we just kind of hang out in our area. But one of the biggest highlights for this trip was actually meeting up with Angie Webb. She is a designer that we've been working with for years, a really great photographer in the Atlanta area. So we met up with her, and we took some more pictures, for our website and our social media. So look forward to actually seeing new images of us, because the images we've been using are pretty dated at this point. So we wanted a little update on that. So we met up at Pond City Market to get some of these photos taken. And while we were there, we wanted to explore, that little area. If you're not familiar with what Pond City Market is, it's an old abandoned Sears building, which was now converted over to, tons of restaurants and shops and everything like that. But what's really cool is it's connected to the Beltline, which goes on for a huge part of the city. You can walk down the Beltline. There's people jogging and biking. It's kind of familiar if you're familiar with New York. They have the High Line, which is there. Other cities have their like Riverwalk. So this was a really cool addition to the area, because people are actually using it. So we walked on that for a little bit, took some pictures, got some food. And then we actually wanted to see more of it, so we went back a second day to see more of the shops inside and everything like that. So that's a cool part of Atlanta that isn't super touristy, because it's not in downtown area. So I highly recommend that area. That's where a lot of locals hang out. Another thing that Barb's never done was take her to Stone Mountain. I wanted to get some cool pictures up there, and have that little hike going up the mountain, which takes about 30 minutes. I kind of forgot how steep it was. It was pretty steep in certain areas. Other areas was not so bad, but nothing compared to what we were doing in like Chattanooga with these really steep, terrains, when there was just like very little walkways or anything like that. So this was a lot more open. So if you have kids, people would bring their kids and stuff up there. So Stone Mountain, you can do it with kids and a family. It's not a big deal. It's just certain parts are a little bit steeper. So once you get up there, you could see the views are amazing. You could see the Atlanta is kind of cool. It's got like two different distinct skylines now. They're separated out. So Atlanta's really spread out. So you can kind of see how Atlanta is, from the top of the mountain. One place I always wanted to check out in Atlanta was the Vortex. This is located in Little Five Points. If you're not familiar, it's a really unique restaurant. It's pretty famous for being, a good burger joint, have good drinks, but what's cool about it is they have a whole set of rules on, what you can and can't do. So basically, if you're not 21 and up, you're not allowed. They don't care about, being nice or anything like that. So it's kind of like gimmicky, but it's also really good food. So this was a place that we're kind of familiar with, coming from Philly. They don't put up with any of this BS stuff. So it's 21 up, and just a really good place to hang out. So that whole area, you could walk around for a couple hours, see some of the shops, and they have a bunch of stuff in that whole area. After we visited Little Five Points, we wanted to check out another area. So I went on Google and just kind of found some other local areas that have a lot of reviews, and I found this thing called Krog Street Tunnel. It's a graffiti-friendly street, and as you can see from these pictures, there's just tons and tons of graffiti underneath this overpass. And what they do is they allow anybody to kind of come in and just spray paint and just kind of play around. It's like a blank canvas. So you may be thinking this is kind of weird, but there's something like this in Philly. They have the mural arts program. If you leave an area open where people can actually explore and try out graffiti, they're not going to want to tag the rest of your city. So this is actually a good thing, and it can bring in business around the area, because there's tons of people out there now taking their Instagram photos and all this stuff. So it's a really cool area, and right on the outskirts of this, there was tons of other art exhibits from real artists that have much bigger like murals throughout the street. Tons of them. It's really cool to see that area. And in that area, there was actually some really cool smaller restaurants and bars and stuff. So you could explore that whole area for a while, and it's a really unique part of town.
So that's our recap of the South. As you can see, we did a lot in the past month. And right now we are in Texas, so you can look forward to some more videos about that area. We're going to head to, we're not really sure yet. We might go to Santa Fe, we might go to Arizona, but eventually we are going to make it up to Nevada. My parents just moved out there about an hour and 15 minutes outside of Las Vegas. So we're really excited to see them. We haven't seen them in a while, and just kind of see where they're living and their new house. And we're probably going to do a lot of travel content on our travel blog related to that area, because there's a ton of stuff to do, and we want to challenge ourselves to make a budget-friendly Vegas video. If you've ever been to Vegas, you know it's pretty expensive. So it's going to be a challenge for sure, but we want to see if we can do it on the cheap. So you can look forward to that.
Yeah. I'm excited about that. And then afterwards, we just landed a big house sit in April. Pretty much all of April, we're going to be in Portland, Oregon. And after that, we're probably going up to Seattle, maybe Vancouver. So we have the next few months kind of loosely based, but April would definitely be in Portland, which is a city we always wanted to check out.
Yes.
Yeah.
So if you like these videos, make sure you do subscribe so you can see where we're going next. It has been a little bit difficult sometimes to get these videos out, because being on the road, we don't always have the greatest place to record, or it'll be raining, or there's things that we can't control. So we are definitely still going to be making videos, but maybe not as frequent as we had hoped. But make sure you ring the bell so you can get notified whenever we do upload a new video. And if you have any recommendations for places that we're going to be going to, places in Texas, in Las Vegas, up in the Pacific Northwest, let us know, because we're always open to recommendations. We want to know what you guys think is good in the areas that we're going to be staying in. So please leave a comment down below. And thanks for watching. We hope you have a great day.
Thanks.